I had to put my address in it.
Where Stroud is.
Okay.
There's a lot of glitches in it.
Not bad.
No,
I guess so.
62 miles.
Where did you go to get
Not a
your?
bad thing.
Yeah.
And it was really,
I just don't know how you schedule the second one.
yeah, it really was great.
I got in.
They do it right then.
It might have been, because I got in at 2
If
and my
they're
husband
doing
got, I mean, at 10.
Yeah,
My
well,
husband got
they
in
do
at
it here
2:30.
for, I mean, in Oklahoma City,
I mean,
so
it was just, they
I don't know.
Everything's so organized and
Well, some of them
everything
only do first shots, and some of them
Really-
only do.
really
split.
Yeah.
Okay, we're set. Yay. So, sit however's comfortable, and at home, if you need to get a blanket, to sit up on a blanket, by all means do. There is somebody else coming, by the way, Cindy. So you'll either want to be here or all the way, yeah, maybe come all the way over so she can.
Is that okay?
Yes. There's only one other person. Perfect. So, get comfortable, right, let yourself, again, sit up if you need to, if your hips bother you at all, grab some blocks if you have them at home, of course, or anything. You can use other things to put underneath your knees here to give you support. If sitting cross-legged causes you any kind of uncomfortable feeling in your hips or your knees, either one. But stretch your legs out if you need to so that you're comfortable in however you're sitting, and close your eyes and start to feel now the ease of your breath coming in and going out through your nose. Sorry, I forgot to say it's Friday, January 22nd, and this is Yoga Flow. So again, focusing on the breath. Let your face relax now, and all around your eyes, all around your mouth. And without forcing the breath, see if you can inhale into your belly, feeling your belly expand as you breathe in. And if you're comfortable to come into those deeper three-part breaths, you can inhale into your belly, into your ribs, all the way up into your chest. Let your arms release on out beside you here now. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And let your exhale bring your hands right down together through the midline to be in front of your chest. Lift your elbows up just a little bit. Feel your hands connecting a little more firmly. And then release the elbows down and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. And now from here, let's stretch our legs out for a second. By the way, that noise you all are hearing, I believe the birds are at work again in the walls. So if you hear that scratching, I think you can hear it over there pretty good. I'm pretty sure it's the birds. It just started this morning. So shake out a little bit. Maybe they're building early nests. And cross your left ankle here above or below your knee. Now, if you can, take your hands. Now, if you don't want to touch your feet, I understand. But if you could, at least just give yourself a little massage of your feet. Maybe even just warm your toes up a little bit with your fingers. You can massage through the arch of the foot. You can do each toe individually. Just kind of feel like you're waking your foot up, however you want, right? Just bringing a little blood there, blood flow in the feet. Give your feet a little love here. Good. And then, take your time. Let your hands stay, either interlace your fingers between your toes a little bit, or let your hands stay on the ball of your foot, whichever works for you. And then ease forward just a little bit. Press the ball of the foot into your hand. Let yourself just wake up a little more in the back of that right long leg and, of course, in your left hip a little bit. So take your time. Just be mindful. Let it feel really good. And then we'll rise to come on back up. Bring your arms out beside you. Take a nice inhale. And on the exhale, let's twist to our left. Bring your right hand on around towards that left knee and lengthen upward through the top of your head. Now, feel your low belly. That low belly just gently draws in. You feel both your sitting bones drawing down. One more inhale. And as we exhale, we're going to come through center and keep on going into a twist in the other direction. So bringing yourself around as far as you want to go. Again, low belly, gently drawing in, sitting bones into the floor here. One more inhale. And on the exhale, come on back around into center again. And we're going to switch to bring that right ankle above or below. You know, that depends on you. And then give this foot a little bit of attention here. So take your time, kind of massage. You can use your thumbs. You know, you can massage a little on the tops of your foot too to kind of move between the toes and down through the top of the foot. You know, just play a little bit and let your foot wake up a little bit here. Maybe get a little bit warmer. Good. And then again, take your time, whether you want to interlace your fingers or the tips of your fingers between your toes, or you just want to bring your hand onto the ball of the foot. Press the ball of the foot into your hand a little bit. See if you can maybe come a little forward, but don't force it. Just, again, feeling the back of this left leg. Feel your heel on the ground. Draw it back towards you of your left foot there. And let yourself enjoy. Feeling the hip, the back of the left leg. Good, and then we'll rise on back up and release your arms on down again, inhaling here. And on the exhale, we'll twist to our right, bringing that left hand around, maybe to your knee, maybe to your shin, doesn't matter how far around you go. Just enjoy now. Feeling that twist in the middle of the back, enjoy waking up your spine. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come back around through center. We're going all the way into the other direction here. Again, as far as you want to go, wherever you want your right hand to rest, and just left fingertips lightly touching back there behind you. Low belly, gently engaging. One more inhale. And on the exhale, use your belly to come on back into center. Good. Let's stretch our legs on out in front of us here. Let yourself lean back either to fingertips or right onto your palms. That's up to you. Draw your chest a little bit forward. Feel your heels on the ground and just open up a little bit through the front of the body here. It depends on you how high up you want to look. You know that. Just pay attention to your own neck. Good. And then we'll rise to come on back up and kind of move through your legs just a little bit here. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees from here. So take your time. Get your hands right underneath you. You know if your wrist bother you, come on to fist if you'd rather. Put a blanket under your knees if that feels better for you too. And now see if you can, just make easy little circles with your navel here on your hands and knees. So as you exhale, navel draws towards the spine, you round up into the back, and then inhale when the belly drops down. Exhale as you head on to that other side. Keep going in the same direction. Now they can be really tiny circles. So tiny that you can barely see any movement, right, with your hips at all. Or you can let them get bigger. If it feels really good to add a little bit of movement and shift your weight a little bit, that's fine. And then we're going to stop in reverse direction. So you stop where you choose and then let the circles come the other way. So just imagine here now. Belly, low back, really getting a nice warm up here. Good. And then finish off. Come on back to a neutral spine. And come into a couple of cat-cows here now, moving through your back easily, letting your tailbone initiate. So letting the tailbone be the first thing that moves, and then just let your awareness come up through the spine there, feeling that suppleness of moving through your spine. Good. Finish off the one you're on so that you can make your way back to neutral. And now, walk your hands just a few more inches forward of your shoulders, okay? And come forward like you're doing a half plank almost, right? So you're coming forward, engage your belly, let yourself feel that strength of zipping up your low belly. Good. Now, if you want to continue hips down and come into like a little cobra, it doesn't have to be deep. You might just shift a little bit. You may decide you want to go a little bit further with your gaze forward. That's up to you. One more breath wherever you are, whether it's in that half plank or towards a back bend here. And then we're going to shift back towards pose of a child. Big toes together, knees as far apart as you want. Stretch your arms overhead. And then from here, let's walk our hands over to the right. So let yourself just walk over to your right side as far as you want to go, and then stay and breathe into the left ribs. And you can experiment a little bit with rising to your fingertips on your left hand if you want to. It just changes the feeling into the shoulder, that kind of hollowing in the armpit gets a little bit deeper. And we're going to walk back through center here now, and we're going to go to the other side. So again, you kind of go as far as you want. See if you can let your head release so you don't feel tense in your neck. And again, if it feels good to come to the right fingertips, tips of the fingertips and the thumb too, you can rise up a little bit. If not, don't do it. Pay attention to your own shoulders. Good. And then walk on back into center again. Let your elbows soften. Breathe into your low back a couple of breaths here. Good. And then stretch your arms back overhead. Let's come back up to all fours and curl our toes under and reach up and back into a downward facing dog pose. So spread your fingers nice and wide. Walk a little bit in your dog. Actually see if you can pick one foot up and circle through it a little bit. So 1 foot at a time, you pick up. Of course, I guess if you can do both feet at a time, go for it. Circling through, and let yourself just enjoy then. Once you get back into your dog, both feet on the floor, hug your elbows towards each other, reach back through your sitting bones. Oh, let yourself enjoy. It's like your whole body is yawning in your dog here. One more breath. And let's lower our knees on down. And we're going to step our left foot forward and find lunge here. So take your time, you know that. Grab your blocks if you'd like them. Let yourself get into that lunge with that knee aligned of that left leg there, and really enjoy now. Finding length through the whole back of your body. Back of your head in line with your spine. So you're looking maybe just a little forward of your mat, but not lifting your chin up, right? So finding that length in the back of your throat. Good, and we're going to switch legs. It doesn't matter whether you like to step backwards or forwards, you pick. And then again, finding that alignment, the front knee, feeling the length through the back body. Let your shoulders just release down and away from your ears. Good. We are going to switch legs again. So bringing that left foot forward, finding your lunge here. We're going to add a little twist. Keep your right hand down, left hand to your left hip, and roll that left shoulder up. And keep your hand down for a second. Palm down onto your low back there. Make sure you're not dropping into the right side. Feel really aligned. And then see about stretching that left arm up overhead. Of course, if your shoulder bothers you, don't do it. So if you might even want to turn to look up a little bit towards your hand up there. And then we'll release to bring our hand back down, and we're going to switch legs again. So right foot comes forward, and again, get your alignment here in your lunge. And then we'll add that right hand to the right hip and roll that right shoulder up. Again, hand down onto your low back there. Really enjoy coming into the twist here. And again, if you can stretch your right arm straight up from your shoulder, do. If it's too much, don't do it. Reach back through that inner left heel, forward and out through the top of your head. Good. And then we'll bring the right hand on back down. And we're going to step forward and come into our standing forward bend. So as you make your way into Uttanasana, take your time, walk a little bit. You know you can use support under your hands, or you can put your elbows above your knees. Bend a knee at a time. Keep your heels on the floor when you walk for a second. And then add a little bit more into the feet by when you bend your knee, lift your heel up too, so that you work through the balls of the feet. And in fact, as you walk, see if you can lift both heels up at once, and then you lower the one that the leg is long, and you just keep going that way. So you actually come up onto the balls of both feet as you walk. Good. And then finish off, let yourself release both heels down. Come into wherever you need to be with support, and you know it, elbows above your knees. If your low back bothers you, don't come into that rounding. Breathing into the ribs. Feeling the weight of your head. And now again, releasing through your face, letting go through your jaw. One more breath here. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips and bend our knees and rise on up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So bow your head for a second. Let your chin come towards your chest. Now look down, even though your hands are right here together in front of your chest. Look down, see if you can see your feet. All right? So you're focusing not on your hands, but right there, both feet, between the hands are between them. And then just make sure, lift your toes up for a second. Make sure you're not rolling. You know, sometimes it's one foot that wants to roll in or out. Sometimes it's both. Lift the toes up, and then let yourself release the toes on back down. And as you inhale, just softly, let the head come on back up into alignment here. Feeling that sense of reaching up through the crown of your head. Coming into your mountain pose, feet equal on the floor. Feeling your tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. So remember, you don't want to tuck your tailbone forward. And then feel your hips wanting to come over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. And as we now unfold our arms on down beside us, we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees and come on forward into standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice long back. Does not matter where your hands go. And we're going to step the right foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into that downward facing dog pose. So take your time again, find your dog, whatever you need to do. If you need to move around a little bit, do. And then just look at your hands. Come forward just enough to really see your hands and spread them wide. Make sure you're pretty equal. Point your fingers about parallel to each other. Bend your elbows out to the side a little bit, but then hug them inward like you have a beach ball between your elbows. And then let yourself reach back again into dog. You can bend your knees, and you know that. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards our plank, nice and strong. Now, if you can, see if you can bend your right knee, bring the knee down towards the floor, point the right foot and press into the top of the toes, and then reach back again into that long right leg, and bend the left knee, come to the top of the left foot, press into the top of the toes, and then come back again to a long leg, and we're going to lower down from here. So you can put your knees down first, or you can come through a full push-up. And from here, let's slide into Sphinx with our elbows underneath our shoulders. Spread your fingers nice and wide. And if you need to be lower, slide your elbows more towards your waist. Now see if there's a little bit of belly engagement. Let yourself enjoy opening through the front of the body. And then we're going to release down. Stretch your arms out into a wide V, like you're reaching towards the front corners of your mat with your arms, right? And on the next inhale, see if you can float your arms, your legs up a tiny bit, not much. Keep your focus down. Just feel the back body engaging here. And then we're going to lower down, hands back by the chest, and we're going to come on back into down dog, whether you come through half or full push-up, or back to your hands and knees, and back to your down dog. And from here, the right foot will come forward to find lunge. And then we'll come on into standing forward bend, both feet, hips distance apart and parallel underneath you. Again, you use what support you need. If you like holding your elbows or putting your hands behind your legs, go right ahead. And then go right to those breaths. Feeling the ribs expand. If you're right there in front of your legs, you'll feel the front ribs expand as you inhale. They'll press into your thighs. As you exhale, imagine the top of the head getting closer towards the ground. And then we'll release our hands back up to our hips, bend our knees, press into our feet, rising on up, and inhaling the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bringing our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms, bring our hands behind us, clasp our hands together back here. And from here, see if you can inhale your arms and your hands a little away from your back. And then release as you exhale back with the hands coming back down. So inhale, let the arms come a little back. And exhale, let them come back down. Doesn't have to be a big movement. Inhale, might be even really tiny, right? Exhale them back. And then one more time, let the arms come away as you inhale. And as you exhale, release them back down. This time, keep your hands down, inhale. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward. Now, we're all different. You may want to stay parallel to the floor. You may want to fold over your legs. Whether your arms come off your back at this point is up to you and your shoulders. So be where you can. One more breath. And then we're going to release and let our arms come on down. Inhale into that nice long back, wherever you like your hands to go. And we're going to step the left foot back to come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward dog. Spread those fingers wide now. Feel your thumbs pressing down. And now feel your pinkies pressing down. And now go back to feeling your pointer fingers. And then move your awareness to your ring fingers pressing down. And then go to the middle finger. So now you feel really equal through your hands here. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. Again, lowering down how you choose. Knees first or not. And we'll come into a little cobra. Now you can stay low or you can go ahead and press up into your cobra. Up to you. So staying low if you need. Elbows hugging in. Letting yourself find that back bend where you're able to be here. And then we'll come on back down. We're going to make our way back to down dog from here. Again, whether you go through a half or a full push-up or shift back to your hands and knees and back to dog. And let's bring the left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Lift your toes up. Now, if you're able to slip your fingers under your toes, do it, okay? Some of you may even want to lift your feet up and slip your hands under your feet with the palms turned up, where your toes end up on the heels of your hands. Now, that's just not for everybody, obviously, but if that feels good, it can be a nice release for your wrists. And even if you just slip your fingers under your toes, you can kind of squeeze your toes a little bit. That feels good too. So just release into your breath. Good. And then we're gonna release our hands back from under the feet, back to the hips, and bend our knees, press into our feet and rise up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Let's inhale our hands right up through the midline. Once you're up there, clasp your hands, send your pointer finger up, and move over to the right a little bit with the hands and the torso. Coming into a little side stretch there. Now, if it feels good, you can shift your hips a little more to the left. That's up to you. And then come on back up to the top into center, and we're going to go the other way. So reaching over, if shifting your hips a little bit, getting a little more of that sideways feels good, you can. And then we'll come on back up to the top, bend your elbows, let your hands just rest right at the back of the top of your head. See if your elbows can rise up a little bit. Now make sure your tailbone is dropping down towards between your heels. Remember, you don't want to flatten that low back curve. One more inhale. And now as you exhale, extend your arms back up long. Let yourself really enjoy elbows hugging inward a little bit here. One more inhale. And on the exhale, open your arms. We're going to fold forward and come into that standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, lengthen out your spine. And we'll exhale right foot back, coming into lunge. Let's move with the breath. Inhale. Exhale into your downward dog. Let your inhale carry you to plank, and let your exhale lower you down. And inhale into your cobra of choice. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale right foot forward to lunge. Inhale. Exhale into standing forward bend. Bend the knees. Rise up. Arms all the way up to the top. And on the exhale, we're going to come forward again. And let your inhale help you find that back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. Inhale. Exhale, down dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. And exhaling, lowering. Inhale into that cobra. And exhaling back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward, lunge, and inhale. Exhale, standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising again, all the way up. And on the exhale, let yourself come forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. Place your hands, jump or walk. Get into your dog and let your tail wag around a little bit. And do that same thing where if you want to lift a foot up at a time, circle your feet around or shake your leg out, you know, you can kind of feel like a donkey a little bit here. Just take your time. And then settle back into your dog. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. Feel your hands on the floor. Remember, thumbs, pinkies, all fingers in between. And we're going to bring our left foot forward. And you might want to grab your blocks to have handy at the front of your mat. We're going to come up to warrior two. So take your time, line up your heels, let yourself get adjusted here, lining that knee up, float your arms out for a second, and then just bring your right arm under your left, give yourself a little bit of a hug, let your elbows melt down. Now if you want to continue in towards an eagle or a half eagle wrap, you can. That's up to you. Let it feel really good and open up between the shoulder blades on your back. And be mindful. Really feel the feet in the floor, feel equal up into your hips. And then we'll release our arms on down. And we're going to inhale the arms all the way out from the shoulders into warrior two arms. Now really feel energy out through your hands, out through your fingertips. Feet gently pressing away from each other. Nice. We're going to turn the left palm up and inhale. Reach up into that reverse warrior. So really feel that breath coming in to expand the left ribs. Maybe even slide the right hand or bend the right elbow a little bit more if you can, and going a little bit deeper. And on your next exhale, we'll come into side angle. So left hand or forearm onto your thigh, swinging that right arm on up into line. Let your pinky turn down a little bit. Take your time. Feel the arches of both feet lifting up. Good. One more breath. And now let your right hand come back down to your right hip. Look down. Okay, we're going to come into triangle from here. I like a block. I like to put a block underneath my hand. That is up to you. And then starting to straighten that left leg out, extending your torso. Keep looking down for a second. Let your neck be released. Keep your right hand down for a second and really get into your legs. Feel the thighs lifting up towards the hips. And then go ahead and turn and bring your right arm up if you can, straight up from your shoulder. Take your time to enjoy. If you want to turn to look up, you can turn to look up towards that top hand. That's if your neck allows you to. Good, beautiful. One more breath. And now let yourself turn to look down. Bring your right hand down. Find a lunge briefly. But from this lunge, we're going to walk around into a wide-legged forward bend. So you can use your blocks if you want. You can walk your hands on around as you adjust your feet now here if you need to, obviously. The width of your stance, adjust, do. Bend a knee at a time. Start to just ease your way from side to side. And you know if it bothers you anywhere, don't do it. And then come back to center and let's rotate the heels forward and turn your legs out a little bit and now bend one knee at a time here. So you know you can progress from here as deeply as you want to go. You can just bend one knee, keep the other foot on the floor. You can come up to the heel of that long leg. You can even shift your hips downward if you want towards the ground, but make sure you use plenty of support if you're going to do that. So you just ease your way, staying up higher. You don't have to go lower, just letting yourself release to where you can. And then once you come back into center, turn your toes again where your feet are more parallel, or maybe, you know, some of you, if you're really wide, you might even turn your feet a little pigeon-toed, right? That's up to you. And then just find your place of release. And that might be using blocks underneath forearms, underneath your head, right? You can stack blocks up and be up as high as you want. Take your time. Really now, see if you can observe your breath and observe those little spaces between your breaths. So feeling at the end of your inhale, that little space before you exhale. And the same thing, at the end of your exhale, that little space before you inhale. Nice. One more breath. And then we're going to walk our hands back forward so that we can walk back to our left foot and come back into lunge. So making your way back into your lunge and then back into down dog. Move through your feet a little bit to the tops of the toes if you want to let the feet stretch out. And then you're on your own. You can put your knees down and rest. You can come out and come into a plank, move through for a back bend. Remember, you can come into child's pose. You can leave out any kind of back bend. Just go into a plank, or you can stay in your dog. Good. And then let's meet back in down dog. And from here, we'll bring our right foot forward. And we're coming up for warrior two on the other side. So get your heels lined up there. Get that alignment of that front knee. And let your arms float a little bit. Shake your hands out too. And then we'll bring our left arm under our right. Now you can stay in that hug. You can move towards a half eagle or an eagle wrap, sliding the back of the left hand to the outside of your right elbow or coming into that full wrap. So be mindful. Start to come back to your breath. Let your breath settle down. Good. And then we'll release our arms down. We're going to inhale the arms into those long warrior two arms. Energy all the way out through the fingertips. Feel the feet pressing away from each other. Don't actually do it, but imagine if you were going to lift your right heel up. Feel how your outer right hip responds. It drops back and down a little bit. And then we'll turn the right palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky. Again, if you can go a little further back by bending your left elbow or sliding your hand down more, do. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come into that side angle. So your right hand or forearm onto your thigh. Again, as you bring that left arm up, if it's not comfortable for your shoulder, don't do it. Bringing it into line with the left side of the body. Press down into that right forearm. Again, draw that outer right hip back a little bit. Good. One more breath. Now bring your left hand down to your left hip, look down at the floor, and remember, placing your right hand where you like for triangle and straightening that right leg out. Thighs lifting up towards the hips. Extending your torso out over that front leg. And then as you start to look forward, you can decide if you want to add your top arm up or not. Optional, right? Thighs lifting up towards the hips. One more breath. And now look down again at your foot, right foot. Bring your left hand down, turn into a lunge briefly. Give yourself a little bit of a breath there. And then we'll walk around again into that wide-legged forward bend. So bring in your blocks if you need. Let yourself keep walking to the left foot. Once you kind of adjust your stance, walk yourself over towards your left foot. Doesn't matter how far, you can just shift your blocks if you want. Stay there for a breath. And then come on back through center, and we're going to go the other side. So again, it's up to you how far you go. If you like to go, pull yourself towards that leg because that feels really good, do. Otherwise, stay in front of the foot if you need to. Good, and then we'll come on back into center. Now from here, walk your hands out, almost like you're doing down dog, but let your hands be a little wider. Bend your knees a little bit. And then let yourself just release your heart melting down a little bit towards the ground. And then we'll walk our hands on back and take your time. Give yourself whatever support you need as you come into your breaths here in your pose. Following your breaths in and out. Doesn't matter what you do with supporting. Just feel those full deep breaths. Good. One more breath. And then walk our hands on back out. We're going to walk back to that right foot. Come on back into lunge and back into downward facing dog pose and your choice. So if you want to do vinyasas or kriyas, in other words, if you want to move through chaturanga, coming down and then up into your back bend, or if you want to go to plank and move through, or maybe you want to put your knees down and rest, right? Take your time. Good. And then we'll meet back. Once you finish off the one you're on, meet back in down dog. And from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward. Now, have both your blocks handy here. We're going to come up into warrior one. So, letting yourself rise on up, getting that back heel adjusted where you're comfortable. See if you can just let your arms come out beside you and turn your palms forward and let the hands be so that when you look down towards your left foot there on the floor, when you look down, your peripheral vision can see your hands. So you know they're not way back behind you, right? It's easy. Shoulders feel really easy here. And then start to rise your gaze forward. And then see if you can imagine a string attached to your sternum, right? And somebody's pulling it slightly up on a diagonal line. Engage the belly here. And then we'll start to float our arms on up as well. Now you can stop in a wide V if you're better there. You can bring the hands closer together if you want. But let yourself just enjoy feeling that uplift in the front of the body. Inhaling up the front, exhaling down the back. One more breath. And then we're going to slowly lower the arms down, straighten that left knee out, and get your hips really square here. If you need to adjust that back foot, do. And bring your hands behind you. Now you can clasp your hands, or you might want to hold your forearms, your wrists, your elbows even, and start to come forward into pyramid. Thighs engaging upward. Now maybe it's an inch. To not put your hands down, only go as far as you can, keeping the legs engaged. Engage your belly too. Imagine you're drawing your hip pointer bones towards each other. And one more breath here with the arms back. And then when you're ready, releasing your hands down to whatever height of surface you want to use, right? And again, once you get your hands down, maybe a little readjustment feels good. So if you want to get a longer or a less long stance, or you need to kind of adjust the alignment of that back foot, do. Keep lengthened out here. Let your right hand ground. Bring your left hand to your left hip and rotate that left shoulder up, coming into revolved triangle. Trying to stay as level as you can in your hips. Twist in the middle of the back. You're more than welcome to stretch your left arm up. If your shoulder responds in a not good way to that, don't do it. One more breath. And then we'll bring our left hand on back down. Let's find our lunge again here now. And then just lower your right knee down to the mat for a second. Come to the top of your right foot. Don't lift up or anything. Just press into the top of the foot. Get a big relief there for that foot. And then we'll curl the toes under. Come on back into our lunge. And we'll come back to down dog from there. So just for fun, if you can do a little side plank work, do. If not, don't do it. But if you can come out to plank, maybe put your right knee down if you'd rather do that variation. Use your right foot like a kickstand and come into your side plank. Now you can do a full one if you want, having both legs long. So that's totally up to you. And then come on back down, come back through plank. We'll go the other side. So again, you can just shift and do your full side plank if you choose. Or you can let yourself put your left knee down. Good. And then we'll come on back down. Come back to down dog for a second. Really reach back. Good. And then from here, we're going to bring our right foot forward, and we're coming into warrior one on the other side. So take your time, again, as you get yourself situated there. You bring yourself into those shoulder square, arms out beside you. Now for a second, pull your arms back, right, where it feels, like you're kind of gotten into way too much here, right? And then bow your head, bring your hands where you can peripherally see them. And imagine that your arms really are coming from your back. So that it's really easy once you start to look forward. Bring the chest a little forward. And then add the arms on up. Letting yourself come into that lift in the front of the body. Feel that lift at the base of the shoulder blades. Left sitting bone reaching down towards the left heel. One more breath. And then we'll lower our arms down. Straighten that front knee out. Again, sometimes an adjustment of that back foot to get square with your hips. Bring your hands behind you, whatever you want to do. Hold your hands, your forearms, your elbows. And then as you come forward, again, maybe you just want to come an inch or two. So feel the thighs lifting up. If you continue to move, just feel those legs working. Feeling that strong base, length through both sides of the body, reaching out through the top of your head. And then when you're ready to put your hands down, any height you want to be, use whatever you want, support under your hands, adjust your stance if it feels a little cockeyed. Enjoy that. And then ground your left hand, bring your right hand onto your right hip, let yourself rotate that right shoulder up, hand flat down onto the low back. Again, if you like stretching your arm up, you can. Now think about your feet in the floor, that front foot. You might feel like you're wanting to roll to the outside. Try not to. Maybe lift your toes up a little bit. Intense. One more breath. To me, one of the most intense yoga poses. Bring your hand on back down. We're going to make our way into lunge. And then we're gonna lower that back knee down, come to the top of that right foot and press into the top of the toes. Just let it feel good. Good. And then go ahead, curl your toes under, come back up to your lunge. Last vinyasa here as you come back into down dog. If you want to do any vinyasas or kriyas, go for it. If you're like, I have had entirely enough, then don't do any more. Put your knees down and rest if you need. Woohoo, it's Friday. Good. So finish off the one you're on. And let yourself meet back in down dog. Bend your knees really deeply. Send your belly towards your thighs. Glance up between your hands. And do you want to jump or walk your way up there? Let yourself come forward however you choose. And then bring your feet right underneath your hips. Let your knees bend. Come into your breath. Good. And then we'll bring our hands right to our hips, bend our knees to press up, and inhale the arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, bring your hands down, crown of the head reaches up. Come into a really easy mountain pose. You know, effortless. You're just here, right? Feeling a lot of energy flowing through the body. You know, the body knows how to get aligned. Just see if you can let yourself trust for a minute. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down, shake out a little bit. Woohoo! Let's bring our mats to a ball. We're awake now. So, let's do just a little bit of, actually to me the hardest warrior three, but maybe not to you. If your shoulders bother you, to put your hands at the wall, to do that down dog where you're at 90-degree angle at your hips like this. You know, if your shoulders really scream at you, you can always put your hands down on blocks if you'd rather, right? If you can, have your hands to the wall and walk back into that down dog where you have a 90-degree angle at your hips. Your feet right underneath your hips. You can glance at your hands, make sure one's not higher than the other. And think about your pointer fingers being about parallel and your elbows hugging in, just like you do when you're on the floor. But your hands can be a little bit wider if you feel better that way at the wall. Spread the fingers, hug the elbows towards each other. We're going to think of lifting the right foot up into warrior three. So press equally into the hands on the wall. Try not to give in to letting that left side shorten. One more breath. And then lower that right foot down. And let's bring the left foot up. So it's kind of interesting, isn't it? I bet you have one side that you're like, oh, this feels just right. And the other side you feel, oh, whose body is this, right? So bring your foot down and go to the other side again. See if you can even out. Sometimes after doing one side and then the other, the side that didn't feel so good feels a little better the second time. And then switch again. Pressing equally. Nice, guys. Little pinky toe faces down. Hips are square. Flex through that foot. Reach into that inner heel back there. If it wasn't COVID, I'd come and press on your heel a little bit. But good. And then let yourself release. Nice. Come on in towards the wall. Turn your back towards the wall. And when you get to the side, what kind of squat you want to do? Do you want to stay up like this? That's fine. You want to put your elbows down above your knees. Now, some of you who really like to squat, if you like to get in close to the wall and let the wall support you like this, if that feels good, do it. If it doesn't feel good to your knees or your hips, don't do it. But if you're close enough to just let yourself feel the wall behind you, it can feel really good, but not if it bothers your knees or your hips. Good. Now we haven't practiced crow at all for a long time. If any of you like to play with crow pose, you're right here. I mean, you could come forward and let yourself play a little bit if you want with lifting up a little bit. You don't have to do a whole one. You can just play a little bit. Don't have to do it at all. That's only if you choose to. So thinking about the elbows right there, up above, as high as you can get on your legs, squeezing your legs in a little bit. And then when you're ready, release on down. We're going to put our toes back towards the wall and come on into a child's pose, letting yourself release. Now, if you're okay in your child's pose to bend your elbows and put your hands up on your upper back, if that feels like a huge release to you, do it. So that your arms are overhead and all you do is just bend your elbows and let them rest. But if your shoulders go, yeah, no, that does not feel releasing, don't do it. Breathe into your low back. Good. And then let your arms come on down. Shift forward to your forearms. So we're going to come up into a dolphin pose. You can decide if you want your hands apart with your forearms parallel to each other here on the mat, or you can go ahead and clasp your hands, send your pinky finger out. And then when you do lift up with your heels up there to the baseboard, you can decide if you need to come down and readjust where your arms are when you start, right? So your shoulders will dictate that. In other words, if you like having your shoulders more over your elbows, you're going to have a deeper pike there in the body. And of course, some of you are already walking up the wall, so go for it. You know, you do what feels good. Come down and rest. Do one leg up. You don't have to walk up at all. Just be mindful. Let the wall help you. Yes. And you know, you rest however you need when you're ready, because you're going to get another chance to go up if you choose you want to. So if you do want to go up one more time, go ahead and take your time and go there. If not, rest however you want to rest. Good. And now, if you're able to, let yourself come up to sit on your feet with your big toes together, heels apart. If you know this is too much for you, put a block underneath you, or two. If you're able to sit with your big toes together, but be pretty close to the wall, because all we're going to do is release our head back into the wall, all right? So if you're sitting like your heels are apart, you're kind of like in a bowl, all you're going to do is lean your head back. So, you know, I kind of actually want a little bit more, but if you want less, you just stay closer to the wall. Engage your belly a little bit, and you can be sitting on a block to do this. You can let your arms release and hang a little, or you can keep your hands on your thighs, whatever feels good. Just enjoy letting that release happen there.
Are your shoulders touching?
Mine aren't, because I'm far enough away, but they could be, right? It depends on how your back feels. And then we're going to come forward, and we're going to come all the way down to our bellies. So we're just set up. We can just slither our way down, let ourselves come on down, and make a little pillow with your hands for a second. Rest your head, bend your knees, let your feet circle around, and then let the legs, if you want, go side to side, lower legs, that windshield wiper blades, if that feels good. Good, and then we're going to bring our legs down long. Lower our arms down alongside us for a little locust pose here. Now at first, when you inhale, just rise your head a little bit off the floor. It's always kind of astounding how heavy the head feels. And then put it back down. And then inhale your legs up a little bit. And then let them come back down. And now inhale your arms, just your arms, your hands. And let yourself kind of reach back towards the wall behind you. See, I think that one feels good. And then let your hands come down. And now we'll inhale all of that up. Coming into your full locust pose here. Now if you can, if you feel pretty strong, and you don't have to be high, okay? See if you can let your left arm come up towards the left front corner of your mat. You've got that diagonal line now through the arms. And then lower that arm back down alongside you, and now let the right arm come up towards the right front corner. Good, and then lower back arm, both arms back down. And now come on back, forehead on the floor. Let your hands rest, release, and breathe into your low back. Good. And now bend your knees, flex your feet, and it is totally optional here. You can just barely clear your nose off the floor. Be in a little bow pose there. Of course, if you want to reach back to get your feet for bow, you can pull your heels in at first to get your quads really released a little. And then you can press your feet into your hands and then imagine rising your feet up a little more, away from the buttocks. You don't have to do bow pose at all. Or you could just not reach for your feet. And we're going to come on down from here. And we're going to shift back to take a little break and pose of a child. And let yourself come on into child's pose. And once you're there, let your arms walk over to the right, like we did earlier in class. And just breathe into that left side. And then walk back through center. And we're going to go to the left. And again, just let that breath help you open up and release. And then come on back into center. Whether you keep your arms soft overhead or want to bring your arms down alongside your legs, that is up to you. Just release into the breath, expanding the low back. And then let your hands come on back by your knees so you can rise on up. And we'll turn on around to stretch our legs out in front of us and come a little bit away from the wall so that if you kind of fall back a little bit, you're not going to bang your head in the wall. We're going to do a little bow pose, but stretch your legs out for a second, move through, do whatever feels good, wiggle around. And then come on forward so that your feet are on the floor. Hold on behind your thighs a second and go ahead and lean back and start to think about, lift your feet up, keep your heels down for a second. Imagine you're kind of squeezing inner thighs towards each other, but they're going that way, like if you had a block there. I'm not going to put a block between. You can if you want. And then see if you can float your legs on up. Feel the belly and the low back working. See if you can let go a little bit. And then hold on again and see if you can lengthen one leg out a little bit longer. And then let it come back down and see if you can let the other leg come a little longer. And then come back down and then see if you can do both legs a little longer. If you want to press the outside of your big toe mounds together and kind of push, you can. You can let go here into your bow pose. And then we're going to come on back down, open our knees out to the side. Keep your feet a little farther away from you in your Baddha Konasana maybe than you usually do, and let yourself come forward. Let it release there. Let your hips release. If you need blocks underneath your legs here, use them. So, be mindful. Let it feel good. And now we're going to come on back up. Bring your knees up. Before we come down to the floor, have your blocks handy so you'll be able to reach them once you get to your back. Now, how you come down is up to you. I'm going to play with a little bit going through a half boat to go down to the floor. So if you want to do some ab work like that, if your back bothers you, don't do this, right? So you can come into your bow pose here, and then you can start to lengthen but lower the torso down and engage the belly big time, right? And you can stay here as long as you want, all day. Just hang out. You can go lower if you want, you know. And you're like, oh man, I am not doing that at all, and especially if it hurts your back, right? Because you're using your belly big time. You can come on down when you're ready. Once you do get down, bring your right knee into your chest. Extend your left leg long. Take your time there. And then just switch. Let the left knee come in. Stretch the right leg long. Have fun with that. Good. And then bring both knees on in and see about letting yourself come towards a happy baby pose if you can. Feet up in the air, and if it feels really good to roll side to side, which, you know, it doesn't for everybody. But if that feels like a huge release, you can just let yourself play in your happy baby. And if it feels better to stretch your legs out a little bit, do, or bring the feet in towards each other, doing a Baddha Konasana. You know, just play. Just like you would see a little baby playing. It's really exactly the same. We're just a little older. And then bring your knees on in towards your chest. Let's bring our feet onto the floor. And we're going to come into a bridge pose. At first, you'll have choices here in a minute, but bring your arms down alongside you. Let yourself bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Palms facing each other. Get your feet set how you like for your bridge. How far away your heels are from your buttocks, that's up to you. And then let the hands come farther apart. So it's sort of like the hands come down, but the elbows are still right there in beside your torso. Hands are about halfway down towards the floor. Press into the backs of your arms. Really press as you start to rise your hips up. Only go about halfway to what you usually do. See if you can roll your shoulders under more. And then see if you from here can lift your heels up. Lift both your heels up. And then if you want to continue on up with your hips, do. Keep pressing into the arms. You may even decide you want to get those elbows even closer together underneath you. And then from here, you're on your own. If you feel like extending your arms long or clasping your hands underneath you, do. If you feel like you want to put your heels down, coming into your bridge pose here, or maybe you're like, all I want to do after this class is to put a block underneath myself and come into support. And the other option, of course, is to come down and let your hands come above your shoulders and press up into your full upward facing bow pose, your full back bend if you choose. Now, if you're supported and that feels best to you to stay there, you don't have to work at all. You can just let yourself release onto blocker blocks, any height. So remember, bridge pose. You do not want to feel discomfort in your back. So if you do, come down, readjust how far your feet are from you. Remember, you still want your feet to be parallel like they are in mountain, but they're farther apart than your mountain pose generally. And you can move up and down out of bridge. Good. So take your time. You know, if you need to play a little bit longer, do. You don't ever have to wait for me to tell you to come out of bridge pose. Just remember that once you do come down, you want to bring your knees in towards your chest. And actually, I'm going to give you the option of choosing a little twist that you like the best for yourself here. It might be as simple as putting your feet on the floor and letting your knees come side to side. Might be that you want to cross a thigh over a thigh and come into those cross thigh twists. Or you might want to bring one knee in and then just bring the leg over and across the midline. In other words, all those options, you all in here are quite familiar with what your body needs. And if a twist isn't it and it's something else, let yourself do whatever is your body's natural inclination right now. And take your time so that if you need to come into any other kind of movement or pose, you can. I'm going to start to walk around just to get lights here at the studio, but feel free to keep doing what you need to do. And you know, there are lots of things you can do to help yourself release for Shavasana. So, I can get what you need. Let me know if a bolster sounds like a good idea if you're here in class. There's a couple people here in the studio lying with their legs up the wall, so at home, if that feels good to you, you know, you can lie on your side with your bottom towards the wall, swing your legs up, let yourself release that way if that feels good to you. So just be mindful of following what your body needs. And if you need a blanket here at the studio for under your head or for cover, please wave at me, let me know. And just settle in. This is the best part. After having a full class like this, of really energy flowing, now just let yourself benefit however you need from everything you just did. Just get out of your own way by finding those little quiet places so that you're watching your breath in and out. The mind and the body start to quiet down. And when you go off into thinking thoughts, just softly bring your awareness back to your breath again and again. And let yourself completely and fully relax. gradually allow your breaths to start to come in and go out more fully and deeply. Don't force the breath. Just let it be easy. Let yourself start to feel those breaths actually physically move the belly. Allowing your breath to refresh you, really. Give yourself time. And you start to feel like moving. Let your extremities lead you if you can. Your fingers and your toes, your hands and your feet. Just easily come back into feeling physical again, moving the way that feels good to you, stretching or bending. Maybe your head wants to roll a little bit side to side. Perhaps you feel comfortable to roll to either your right or your left side into a soft fetal position. If you do, you can stay there for a little bit. You can use your arm as a pillow. Just be mindful. Take your time so that you feel like the ground underneath you, supporting you, is really still grounding you physically, right? So that even when you do start to want to sit up, you still feel that groundedness as you get comfortable in how you're sitting. But you can also feel this kind of pull upward through the top of your head. And just ease your way into sitting however feels good for your hips. And as you lengthen up, feel your head lightly floating up there on top of your spine now. Let your eyes be closed if you can, and come back to your breath. Give yourself a couple of breaths to readjust to having your head up there again above your heart. And on your next exhale, let your hands come gently to meet there in front of your chest, in front of your own heart. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.